Well, hey everybody, welcome back. In this video, we're going to go through the basics of the select statement and show you really the foundation of SQL and data engineering, all in about 5 to 10 minutes. So follow along. If you're new to the channel, this is the SQL Professor. I am a director of data engineering, and I also teach at the university level the basics of databases, SQL, and querying. And today we're going to dive right in, like I said, and show you really the basics and the foundation. If you'd like to follow along, feel free to subscribe. Shown on the screen is SQL Server, the Express edition, the free edition. You can watch the previous video to see how to download and get to this point, where we have a database. Within every database, there's one or more tables. In this case, we just have a simple customer table. We can go through the details on how to create tables at a little bit later point in another video. But for now, there is a grouping of information we call a table. There are columns. Conceptually, you can look at this as a sheet in a spreadsheet, something of that nature. There are some nuances, but for now, just look at it as a storage mechanism for data related to our customers. We have identifier, first name, last name, email, phone number, address, the rest of their address, and their country. Little tip, this key indicates that this is the primary key, also identified by this PK symbol. And what that means is this is the column that enforces uniqueness. You cannot have more than one customer with the same customer ID. So the very first command for SQL is up here, select star from customers. You're asking the database engine to return to you all of the columns, that's what the star means, from the customers table. And I can go ahead and highlight this, and then I can hit execute. I can also hit the function key F5. When I do that, I will have the data returned right here in my query window. And you can see it's the same columns that are identified over here. Customer ID 1 through customer ID 100. This is dummy data, garbage data. Obviously, nothing of this is real. Just a way to show and start manipulating some data. Now, I will say it is essentially a coincidence that the data is being presented to us from customer ID 1 nice and cleanly up to customer ID 100. It was the order the data was entered, so it's the order the data was stored on the disk, but we're not asking the engine to return the data in any particular way. If we wanted to return in a certain order, go ahead and add something here. We can say order by, and then a column. Let's say order by state. Again, highlight, hit execute, and now you can see the data is sorted by state. We have Arizona, and then California, Colorado, Florida, etc. You see the customer IDs are now bouncing around because it's sorting by state. So without an order by, the engine can return the data in any particular order. Typically, it is the order by which it was laid out on disk. Now this gets everything, all rows, all columns. The next concept we're going to layer is basic filtering. Filtering can get a lot more complex. Future videos will dive deep into that. But we can just say where the state is equal to Texas. So the database engine will retrieve the rows and will filter out anything except the state is Texas. We don't have to return all of the columns. In this case, we're only returning the last name. Again, execute. Now I get the rows that correspond to the state is equal to Texas. Down here you can see how many rows, only 21 were processed or returned, and only the last name because I only asked it to return the last name. If we wanted to verify, if we did this, highlight, run it, and you can see all 21 of them have the state of Texas, of course. Next thing I wanted to show you is we only had the last name here. Comma separated list, I hinted at it here, gives you particular columns. Highlight, execute. Now I only have first, last, state, city, and address. So you can see a convention here. All capitals for the commands, camel case or uppercase followed by lowercase letters for the table names. Same for the field names. This is purely convention. If you wanted to have a lowercase select, that's perfectly fine. If you wanted to have customers in all uppercase, by and large, that's fine. You can make a database case sensitive. The default is case insensitive. Now, the difference between this select statement and the below one is where you put the commas. And again, this is purely convention. I can run this and I'll get the same rows and the same columns. What I like about doing it this way is, let's say you wanted to also add let's say you didn't want the address. I can highlight this and then I can comment it out. 2 dashes is a comment. You see it makes it green. And then I can go ahead and run it, and now I get everything but the address. Here I can't do that. If I comment that out, I'm going to get a syntax error because it notices the comma and it's interfering with the from clause. It was hinted at with the IntelliSense with the little red line under here. So you also have to comment out the comma here, select, execute, and it will work just fine. I just find it to be a little less cumbersome, a little bit speedier to have those commas on the outside and have everything commented out nice and cleanly. I would say whatever your convention is, whatever your style is, find one, stick to it. If you work for an organization and there is not a style guide, offer to create one. So, last basic trick on select statements is the distinct keyword. I only want one entry per state. Select the distinct states from the customers table, and I'll get the 20 states that are represented in our sample data. Only one Arizona, one California, one Colorado, etc. So, you can then go ahead and combine this. You can now select all, select some of the columns, filtering, commenting things out, selecting the distinct entries. There's a lot of power in that select statement, and you can now explore it. Briefly, if we wanted to go ahead and update the customers table, the command is update and then the table name, set a city, where the city used to be Austin. So if I did something like a select star from customers where city equal Austin up here, highlight it, execute it. I have 6 rows, update them all. 6 rows were affected. If I run this command, there is no more Austin. But if I were to obviously look for Dallas Fort Worth, I'll get my 6 rows back. Fairly straightforward, but obviously this can grow to be more complex. You can have set multiple columns, you can have filtering, more complex filtering, but really basic syntax is what we're after here. Here's how to update data. And then how do you add more? Well, insert into the customers table. comma separated list of the columns. It's not always necessary, but usually best practice. Then just set the values. Customer ID 101, first name, the sequel, second last name, professor, etc. Highlight all of this. Execute. One row was affected. Go ahead and select star from customers. You can highlight a partial row. Hit execute. Now I get 101 rows, and I scroll all the way down, and there's the new entry. As promised, a little bit more than 10 minutes. You have select, insert, update, column filtering, distinct values, and some tips around conventions. Go ahead and explore with your own data, and I'll see you in the next video.